Everyone sees the glitter, the packed arenas, the flashy outfits, the millions of fans chanting an idol's name. But what most people don't see is the fine print of the K-pop industry, the contracts, the ownership clauses, and the system that keeps most idols from ever truly owning the music they perform. Today, we're breaking down the harsh economics of K-pop fame, why idols don't own their music, how copyright works in Korea, and why so many artists are now fighting for creative control. Let's start with a brutal truth. In K-pop, idols are not the owners of their art. They're the employees of a system. When a trainee signs with a major agency like SM, YG, JYP, or HYBE, they sign a long-term exclusive contract. This contract gives the company near total control over their music, image, and schedule. The company pays for everything: training, housing, choreography, wardrobe, marketing, and promotion. In return, the artist gives up ownership rights. The songs, the albums, even the stage names, they legally belong to the company. So when you hear a hit like Butter, Kill This Love, or Next Level, remember this: the idols performing it don't actually own it. They might not even have written a single line. The company's internal producers or hired songwriters hold the copyright, and the label owns the master recording. Every time the song earns money, from YouTube streams, Spotify, radio plays, or advertisements, the royalties go primarily to the producers, composers, and the label, not to the idol who made it famous. Why is it like this? Because K-pop isn't structured like the Western music industry. In the West, artists like Taylor Swift or Drake can sign distribution deals while keeping ownership of their masters or publishing rights. In Korea, the entertainment agencies act as complete ecosystems: training academies, management firms, and record labels all in one. They invest heavily up front and expect to recover every penny. That's why most idols spend their first few years after debut simply repaying their trainee debt. Until those costs are cleared, ownership is not even a discussion. Now, let's break down how this affects money flow. When an album sells for $10, maybe $6 goes to the distributor and agency. Out of that, the idol group might get a small percentage, often split among 5 or more members. That's before taxes, manager fees, and production costs. So even a million-selling album can leave idols with surprisingly little cash. That's why touring, endorsements, and songwriting royalties become their only real path to wealth. But songwriting royalties only exist if they wrote something. That's exactly why idols are now chasing producer and writing credits. Having your name on a song as a composer or lyricist means you own part of its copyright. Every time that song is streamed, performed, or sold, you receive a share of royalties directly from the Korean Music Copyright Association, KOMCA. It's the difference between being an employee and being a creator. Take G-Dragon, for example. He's registered as a composer and lyricist for more than 170 songs. That means he earns royalties every time Fantastic Baby, Crooked, or Loser is played anywhere in the world. His creative control isn't just artistic, it's financial power. Compare that to idols who've performed hundreds of songs but don't own a single one. Once they leave their company, they can't even perform their old hits without permission. IU is another rare case. She writes and composes most of her music, which makes her one of the few K-pop idols who actually owns her art. Her song Through the Night alone generates continuous royalties years after release. It's why IU's income is steady even when she's not touring or promoting. She's not chasing chart success, she's building a catalog. But for every IU, there are dozens of idols who remain voiceless in creative decisions. The label chooses the concept, the song, the styling, even the color of their hair. The idol's job is to execute, not to decide. In K-pop's corporate hierarchy, creativity flows from the top, from the producers and executives, down to the artists. The result? The system produces consistent, marketable hits, but it limits individuality. This structure also explains why so many idols leave their agencies to start fresh. Look at JYJ, the group formed by former TVXQ members Jaejung, Yuchun, and Junsu. After leaving SM Entertainment, They lost the rights to perform the songs they made famous, but by becoming independent, they gained freedom to create their own material. It was a trade-off, fame for freedom. Jae-jung later became a business tycoon, investing in restaurants and fashion because he finally controlled his own revenue. PSY is another example of someone who learned this the hard way. He started under a label, faced creative restrictions, and later formed his own company, P Nation, to let artists like Hyuna and Dawn have freedom. PSY's success with Gangnam Style came from writing and producing it himself. And that's why he earned millions in royalties, not just performance fees. He proved that ownership transforms fame into wealth. BTS is a game changer in this regard. Members like RM, Suga, and J-Hope fought early to be recognized as lyricists and composers. Now, their names appear in Comke's database for hits like Spring Day, Blood, Sweat and Tears, and Dynamite. This gives them royalties for life, long after the tour's end. When HYBE went public and gave BTS equity, it was another step toward true financial control. But even then, the group doesn't own their early masters. HYBE does. Their creative leverage is powerful, but it's still partial ownership within a corporate structure. The harshest part is what happens when contracts end. Many idols leave their agencies and realize they can't perform or monetize the songs that made them famous. Those songs are legally tied to the company, and using them without permission can lead to lawsuits. That's why artists like CL, formerly of 2NE1, had to rebuild from scratch after leaving YG Entertainment, even though her voice helped define an era. But here's the shift. Younger idols are learning the business early. They're registering copyrights, learning production, and studying contract law. Groups like 17 are heavily involved in writing and choreography. Artists like Stray Kids Bangchan and I-DLE's Soyeon produce their own tracks, ensuring they get paid beyond the stage lights. These are the idols rewriting the K-pop rulebook. Let's face it, the K-pop industry is built for perfection, not ownership. It's a factory system that produces stars fast, but often traps them in dependency. The artists who escape the cycle do so by becoming creators, not just performers. When an idol starts producing, they move from being a product to being a stakeholder. That's why those small lyrics by or produced by credits mean everything. They're tickets to independence. So the next time you hear a chart-topping K-pop hit, remember this: the person singing might not own a single note of it. Fame doesn't equal freedom in K-pop, but the ones who fight for creative control are the ones building lasting wealth and legacy. In the end, idols who understand the economics of fame realize one simple truth: popularity fades, but ownership pays forever.